October 17th, 2019, Cedar Pines Geriatric Hospital. Main rain hit the windows in heavy sheets, blurring the parking lot lights into bleeding yellow orbs. Inside, the halls of the East Wing sat quiet and cold, except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights and the distant echo of a rolling cart. Maya Patel had worked the night shift for almost 6 months. 24 years old, fresh out of nursing school, still new enough to check everything twice. She liked the calm of the nights until October. Something had shifted. A few patients reported voices. A janitor had quit. 2 nurses requested transfers. But no one said anything outright. Still, Maya noticed, and that night something was watching her. 2:58 a.m. Routine rounds begin. The hospital's East Wing housed elderly patients with memory loss, dementia, and severe stroke recovery. Most were non-verbal. Most didn't move much. Room 118 was her first stop. Mrs. Albright was fast asleep, oxygen hissing softly beside her. Maya wrote her notes. She followed the same routine she always did, quietly closing doors, checking vitals, walking the loop, in an L-shaped back toward the nurse's station. She was halfway down the corridor when her radio crackled. "AYA. You there?" It was Jen, her coworker, from the West Wing. But the voice was faint, staticky, like it was coming from far away. "Yeah, I'm here," Maya replied, pressing her radio. "What's up?" "Did see a man in your hall?" Maya stopped walking. "What? Forget it. Maybe I'm seeing things." Click. 3:07 a.m. Room 123's door is open. That was wrong. Maya remembered closing it. She was sure. Room 123 was a long-term patient, Mr. Dennis Clark, stroke survivor. No visitors. No one to open the door. And no reason for it to be ajar. She gently pushed it open. The room was cold. Much colder than the hall. The window was shut, blinds fluttering lightly as if they'd just been touched. And then she noticed something else. Mr. Clark was missing. 3:10 a.m. The emergency call button was pulled. She backed out, heart racing, and hit the emergency call system. Her voice was calm on the surface, but her hands trembled. "This is Maya. I have a missing patient from room 123. Last seen at 1:30 a.m. Sedated. Bed is empty. No alarms. Possible elopement or a..." Scream cut through the hall. Not from a patient, from a nurse. She sprinted. Jen was gone. The scream had come from the West Wing. But when she got there, Jen's cart was tipped over. Gloves and paperwork everywhere, but no Jen. Only her radio sat buzzing on the floor, still transmitting faint static. Maya bent to pick it up and heard a whisper, "Behind you." She spun. Nothing, just the quiet hum of the automatic doors shutting far down the corridor. 3:27 a.m. Security review. By now, the charge nurse had been called. Maya and the supervisor reviewed the hallway, security footage, and what they saw chilled every soul in the room. At exactly 3:07 a.m., Mr. Clark, who could not walk unaided, stood up on his own, walked to the door, opened it, and looked directly into the hallway camera. He smiled, and then, from the shadows behind him, another figure stepped into view. Pale, faceless, tall, the footage, glitched, and then Mr. Clark was gone, the official report said. Nothing. 2 weeks later, Maya returned from mandated leave. The official report blamed a system failure and classified Mr. Clark as voluntarily absent. Jen was listed as AWOL. Her apartment lease had been suddenly terminated. Her phone disconnected. No police, no family, no search. It was like the hospital erased them both. But Maya didn't let it go. She couldn't. She found Jen's old locker, still locked, still untouched. She pried it open. Inside was a torn notebook, half burned. The remaining pages showed erratic handwriting, scribbles, maps of the hospital vents, notes about shadow figures, timestamps all circling between 2:57 and 3:17 a.m. One page had only a sentence, circled over and over. Room 123 isn't real. That night, Maya snuck into the records room and typed room 123 into the digital archive. No results. She searched manually through the wing's blueprints. Again, no room 123. She grabbed her flashlight, her badge, and went back down the east hallway. She passed room 122, then 124. No room 123, but she had been in it. The same door, same patient. She stood there, staring at a blank wall between two doors, and then the door opened on its own. The hallway was unnaturally silent. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, but the stretch between room 122 and room 124 had gone dim, like the bulbs were resisting the truth. Maya stood frozen. Her heart was a drumbeat in her throat as the invisible door creaked. Open in front of her, there was nothing where room 123 should be. Just drywall, just darkness. But she saw the faintest crack, widening, and beyond it the same hospital room she had entered earlier that night. The same bed, the same oxygen tank, the same silence. Except now it was empty. The room was wrong. Maya stepped forward, flashlight trembling in her grip. She pushed through the crack through what felt like cold, wet air and entered the impossible room. Her breath fogged up instantly. Inside, the laws of space twisted. The room seemed deeper than it should be. Shadows stretched across the floor like they were trying to leave. The bed was no longer hospital-ish. It was old, with rusted rails and leather straps fraying at the ends. There were faint scratch marks on the floor, and the far wall was lined with black and white photos. She stepped closer. The pictures were of patients, not current ones. Old ones, dated, all staring straight into the lens, expressionless. She moved her light to the corner of the wall and saw Jen's photo. Eyes wide, mouth taped shut, tears visible on her cheek. Maya staggered back. She slammed her back into the door, but it didn't budge. She banged on it, screamed, cursed. Nothing. Then came the whisper. You weren't supposed to come back. She turned, and a figure stood in the corner. Mr. Clark, except it wasn't him. His face was wrong, melting at the edges. Eyes too dark, mouth too wide. Like something wearing his skin but not quite fitting. He stepped forward. We let you. See? That was the mistake. Maya gripped her flashlight tighter and screamed. She woke up on the floor. Her body trembled as she gasped for air. Cold sweat clung to her uniform. She was back in the hallway, lying in front of room 124. The wall between 122 and 124. Solid. No crack, no door, no room. 123. Her flashlight was gone, but in her Pukita black and white photo of herself, mouth taped, eyes wide. This can't be real. Back in the nurse's station, Maya stared at the photo with shaking hands. Was she hallucinating? Sleep deprived? Drugged? But no. Her fingers were still numb from the cold, her shoulder bruised from falling, and she could still smell something. Foul in her hair, something like mildew and rust. She needed proof. Real proof. She scanned her ID into the patient record system again. Room 123. No results. She dug deeper into old incident reports. Finally, she found a file. East Wing, structural irregularities, -1987. She clicked. Only one sentence had been scanned and archived. Room 123 was sealed following the April 12th incident. No further entries permitted by staff or state board. Attached was a name, Dr. Leonard Shaw, the doctor who vanished. She Googled the name. Nothing recent, nothing in the hospital database. But there was an old news article, barely indexed, archived from 1987. Psychiatrist Dr. Leonard Shaw disappears from Cedar Pines amid patient abuse allegations. Last seen leaving the East Wing at 3:17 a.m. Same time Jen disappeared. Same time Mr. Clark walked away. Same time the hospital always glitched. Maya's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a room. It was a trap. Something lived inside it, and it had been feeding. She found the basement key maintenance locker, left open, a single silver key on a rusted hook, labeled B sub access. She knew what that meant. The original blueprints would be in the sub-basement archives, off limits. Since the early 2000s, after a flood and mold, damage forced its closure. But Maya didn't care. She needed answers. She waited until the night shift supervisor was deep in rounds, grabbed her hoodie, a flashlight, and the key, and slipped into the basement stairwell. The basement was alive, concrete walls, dripped with moisture. The air was thick. The lights flickered. Her footsteps echoed into something bigger than the building should have allowed. It was like descending into the lungs of something ancient. She reached the archive door, unlocked it. Inside, cabinets were toppled, papers scattered, mold creeping across every surface. And then she saw a floor plan from 1986. She held it up to her flashlight. There it was. Room 123, not a patient room, not a regionally. A psychiatric isolation chamber, small notes in red ink beside it read, soundproofed, experimental treatment, only. No spiritual staff allowed past 3 a.m. Seal every entrance. Suddenly a voice behind her, "You should have left." She turned, and the lights went out. Her phone buzzed. A message lit up the screen. From Jen, "Don't trust the nurses. They feed it too." Maya froze. It wasn't just room 123. It was the hospital Cedar Pines was hiding a ritual. She bolted from the archives, heart pounding. Every corridor looked the same. Every wall felt closer. The air thickened. And then she saw her photo again, posted on a door. Employee of the month. Maya Petal, except her eyes were scratched out. She made it out, barely, pushed through the emergency exit, and burst into the parking lot. Rain poured. The night was still. She collapsed beside her car, sobbing, clutching the blueprint and the photo. She had proof now, and one decision to make. Expose Cedar Pines, or disappear like Jen. 2 days later, Maya made her choice. She sent the blueprint, the security footage, and a copy of Jen's notebook to a local journalist named Drew Kleena, reporter known for digging into medical corruption. He responded within an hour. "This hospital should have been shut down 30 years ago. You're not crazy. I'm in." But by the time Maya got to his office that night, he was gone. His computer smashed, his walls smeared in black sludge, and one message was scrawled in marker on the mirror. "You brought it with you." October 20th, 2019, 10:41 p.m., Portland, Maine. Maya stood alone in Drew Klein's dark office. The smell of mold hung in the air. His monitor was shattered, his desk overturned, and on the mirror behind the door, the message was still wet. "You brought it with you." She backed out slowly, locking the door behind her, her heart thudding like a warning drum. A muffled creak echoed down the hallway, too light to be footsteps, too heavy to be the wind. She didn't wait to find out what it was. She slept in her car. That night train drummed against the roof as she stared at the ceiling. She hadn't gone home since the hospital. Her apartment didn't feel safe. Nowhere did. She couldn't stop replaying Drew's last words in her head. "You're not crazy. I'm in." And now he was missing. Just like Jen, just like Mr. Clark, just like everyone else who got too close to room 123. The pattern wasn't new. It was historical. The next morning, Maya sat in the public library, her laptop open, scanning archived newspapers, court cases, abandoned blogs, anything tied to Cedar Pines. And that's when she found something buried. A blog post dated 2008, written by a nurse named Angela Reyes, who once worked the night shift at Cedar Pines. The blog had only one post. It read, "They feed it during the night shift. Always after 3 a.m., a patient disappears. A story is crafted. The system is scrubbed. The cameras glitch. The nurses smile like nothing's wrong. I left. I told someone. He vanished. So I stopped talking. But if you're reading this, it's still hungry. And then she found the name. Dr. Leonard Shahi wasn't just a psychiatrist. He was also tied to fringe cult activity in the 1970s, rumored to have experimented with near-death energy, drawing supernatural strength from trauma, fear, and madness. One article claimed he had worked at 3 separate psychiatric hospitals, all of which eventually closed due to structural corruption or unexplained patient loss. The last place, Cedar Pines. Maya's plan was simple. Go back in, get evidence, expose everything. She couldn't rely on journalists. She couldn't call the cops. The hospital had buried this for decades. She would sneak in through the sub-basement again, plant motion sensors near the east wing, and capture the moment room 123 reappeared. And this time, she'd record everything. But what she didn't know was someone was already expecting her. October 21st, 2019, to 11 a.m. Cedar Pines, sub-basement. Maya crouched beneath a rusted vent, great eyes focused on the dim corridor ahead. She moved quietly, her backpack loaded with 2 cameras, duct tape, her phone, and the remaining pages of Jen's notebook. She paused outside the records room. And noticed a flicker. Room 123 was on the monitor. Live feed, glitching in and out. Her pulse spiked. It was real again. 2:56 a.m. back in the east wing. The hall was colder than she remembered, silent as a tomb. She crouched beside room 122, slowly peeling open her phone's camera app. She aimed it at the wall, where room 123 should be. Nothing. Then the second hand on her watch clicked to 2:57 and the wall opened, right there, in front of her, like a mouth forming from the plaster. Same room, same rusted bed, same shadows. She taped a GoPro to the ceiling corner, aimed directly at the door, and stepped inside. Inside, she found the tape knot, audio VHS, labeled in black marker. April 12, 1987. Observation. She took it, heart pounding. Then heard a noise, deep, wheezing breathing from the far end of the room. She turned. A figure in a hospital gown stood, just behind the curtain, still facing the wall, not moving. She stepped back toward the door. The curtain rustled, and then a hand reached out, but it didn't grab her. It simply held out a key, old brass labeled, Reyes Angela, Reyes the nurse from the blog post. And just like that, the figure vanished. She didn't have time to run the moment. She stepped back into the hallway. 2 security guards were there, not familiar ones. These men were different. No name tags, no hospital logos, just black uniforms, blank stares. You're not allowed here. You were warned. She tried to run. They grabbed her, injected something cold into her neck. She woke up in room 123, strapped down, alone, camera gone, phone gone, only the VHS tape was still tucked in her hoodie pocket. The lights flickered overhead. The air was freezing. Then a figure stepped into the doorway. Not Dr. Shaw, her supervisor, Linda, the woman who trained her on her first day. "We told you, Maya," she said softly, almost lovingly. "You can't fix what's not broken. It's been this way a long, long time." Maya's voice cracked. "What is it? What lives here?" Linda smiled. "Not what, who." And then the lights cut out. Somehow, she got out. Maya awoke on the side of a road outside the city, her hoodie soaked in rain, the VHS tape still in her hand. No phone, no ID, no memory of how she got there. She hitchhiked to a motel, covered in bruises, and stayed hidden for 2 days. When she played the VHS at the front desk on an old player, she almost screamed. The tape showed everything. April 12, 1987. Room 123. Dr. Shaw. 2 orderlies. A young man strapped to a chair screaming in Spanish. Shaw, murmuring in Latin. candles flickering, and then shadows moving unnaturally around the walls, crawling toward the patient, and Shaw saying, "Fear sharpens the soul. That's when it tastes best." The patient began convulsing, and then the camera flickered violently and the same shadowy figure from Maya's hallway appeared on screen, smiling. Maya sent the tape to 5 independent whistleblower websites. 3 didn't respond. 1 disappeared. From the internet, the 5th replied with one sentence, "We're uploading tonight. Be somewhere safe." But before Maya could even respond, someone slipped a note under her motel door. Just 3 words, handwritten in red ink, "They're coming back." October 25th, 2019, 3:44 a.m. Edge Hill Motel. Room 6. Maya sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. The motel's cracked wall, pressing cold against her back. The VHS tape was gone now, mailed off to a whistleblower site the night before, but the fear hadn't left. The message under her door still echoed in her mind, "They're coming back." She hadn't slept, not because she couldn't, but because every time she closed her eyes, she saw room 123 opening again. 6:12 a.m. A new message. Her burner phone vibrated once. Unknown number. Just a text. "I believe you. Meet me at the chapel ruins, off Old Caraway Road. Sunset. Arankela rages." The nurse, from the 2008 blog post. The one who claimed to have escaped Cedar Pines years ago. Maya didn't hesitate. She packed the little she had left: her journal, phone, the hospital blueprints, and one final item, Jen's notebook. The chapel was older than the hospital. The ruins looked like something from another world, half-sunken stone walls, covered in ivy-stained glass shattered decades ago. It stood in the middle of a forest clearing, bathed in dying golden light. Angela Reyes stood in the center, wearing a long brown coat, gray hair tied back. A scar down her cheek she didn't try to hide. She didn't say hello, she just pointed to a stone bench and said, "Sit. I need to tell you why room 123 exists." The truth began in 1976. Angela lit a match and placed it beneath a rusted lantern between them. "Cedar Pines wasn't billed as a hospital," she said softly. "It was a containment zone, an experiment." She went on to explain. In 1976, the state granted a private foundation permission to test alternative psychiatric interventions on high-risk patients. But behind that was a darker purpose. Dr. Shaw believed that if you could trap a human soul between fear and death, she said, you could harvest its energy, use it to influence others, control them, feed something bigger. They called it the hollowing dot, and room 123. It wasn't a room, it's a fracture, she whispered. A scar on the building itself. Something opened it, something brought in during Shaw's final ritual. And Maya's realization hit hard. It's not just feeding on patients, Maya said slowly. It's feeding on the staff, on me, on Jen. Angela nodded. Every 3:17 a.m., it takes someone's body or mind. Some are erased, others become part of it. Maya's throat tightened. Jen's photo was on the wall. Does that mean? It means she didn't escape, Angela said. But it doesn't mean she's dead. So what do we do? Angela handed her a cloth bundle inside it, an old tape recorder, and a sealed vial of ash labeled, Blessed -1987. That ash was taken from the chapel's altar before the fire, she explained. It's the only thing the Halloween can't consume. That's why it tried to burn this place down. Go back tonight. Burn the wall. Record what it says. Seal it. Then run. But Maya had one more question. Why me? Angela looked at her for a long time before answering. Because the first person who tried to seal it didn't survive. She reached into her coat and handed Maya an old ID badge. Maya's hands trembled. Nurse Jennifer Owens. She died trying to shut it, Angela said. But she left a door open. You're the only one who's ever stepped through it and come back. October 25th, 2019, 11:52 p.m. Cedar Pines Hospital. Maya stood in front of the East Wing again, disguised in scrubs, her badge cloned from her old one. The halls were nearly empty. She knew the shifts, knew the blind spots. She passed room 122, paused. The air grew colder. The wall ahead began to flex. Room 123 opened again, wider this time, deeper, and for the first time, Maya stepped inside willingly. The room spoke, the lights pulsed, the shadows churned, and then without moving, the room spoke in a voice made of 100 whispers. You brought hope. Hope is pain. Let it go. Let her go. Maya pressed recorder on the old tape recorder. Tell me what you are. No answer. Then suddenly, the faces returned. On the walls, on the bedposts, in the ceiling. Jen, Mr. Clark, Drew Klein, all flickering like forgotten film frames, and at the center, rising from the shadows, Dr. Leonard Shaw, the final ritual. He smiled at Maya. Empty, ageless. You kept coming back. That's what we needed. We needed witness. The shadows surged. Maya flung the vial of ash toward the base of the wall. The room screamed, not Shaw. The room, everything, flickered violently. Faces melted. The walls buckled. She lit a match and touched it to Jen's notebook, tossing it into the shadows. Flames erupted, and then a voice, not Shaw's, not the hollowing Jen's voice, whispered, "Thank you." The collapse. Maya ran. The fire raced behind her, like it had been waiting for this release. The East Wing began to tremble. She made it through the emergency exit, just as the wall inside imploded, sucking itself inward with a deafening roar. Sprinklers triggered. Lights went out, and room 123 was gone. The aftermath. Firefighters arrived. They blamed faulty wiring in a closed-off wing. The hospital denied any patient loss. No staff went missing. No media reported it. But Maya knew she had the audio recording. She had Angela's testimony, and she had something else, herself, still alive, still remembering. Maya didn't try to go public. Not through headlines. Not through court dots. She posted the tape online. She uploaded it anonymously to archives, horror forums, and backdoor servers. She changed her name. She moved across the country, and on a cold November night, she received a package with no return address. Inside was a small photo, Jen smiling, healthy, alive, and written on the back, "Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find who you really are." Maya smiled through tears, because she finally understood. December 12, 2019, Vancouver, Canada. 2:17 a.m. Maya had started over. New apartment, new name, new job, at a small elder care facility. No night shifts, no old hospitals, no basements. Just quiet days, kind people, and the simple rhythm of helping others live with dignity. The tapes were gone. Room 123 had collapsed. Cedar Pines was under review after an anonymous fire report. For the first time in months, Maya could breathe. But peace is strange when you've been at war. Sometimes, it feels like waiting for a sound that never comes. Until that morning she was brushing her teeth when she noticed it. A small envelope on her kitchen table. No postmark, no name. Just 3 letters scribbled on the front. MP, her old initials. She hadn't spoken them aloud in weeks, hands trembling. She opened it. Inside was a photo of room 123, unburned, perfect, lit from inside, and on the back, just 2 words, "Still hungry." The walls began to whisper it, started subtly. A cold draft from under the door, a flicker in the hallway light, a picture frame slightly tilted every morning, no matter how she straightened it. Then came the voice, soft like breath near her ear. "You carried it out." She began locking her doors, sleeping with the lights on, keeping salt under her bed like Angela had taught her. But deep down, she knew she hadn't ended it. She'd set it free, back to the beginning, She flew to Maine 2 days later. Cedar Pines had been temporarily shut down officially due to water damage and structural instability. But the East Wing, rebuilt, modern paint, smiling staff, new management, no mention of the fire, no mention of missing patients, no room 123. Maya walked the halls as a consultant, wearing a fake badge. She passed 122, then 124. And there was just a fire extinguisher where the door had once been. But the chill in her spine said otherwise. Angela was already waiting. She found her outside, sitting on a bench beneath a leafless tree, feeding breadcrumbs to crows like she'd always been there. "I thought I ended it," Maya said quietly. Angela didn't look at her. "You can't end what feeds on belief," she replied. "You just made it hungry somewhere else." Maya sat beside her. "So what do I do?" Angela finally looked at her, eyes older than grief. "You don't fight it anymore. You face it. You give it what it came for." "What's that?" "The truth." That night, Maya checked into a motel not far from Cedar Pines. She brought nothing but her recorder, her journal, and Jen's photo. She sat on the floor in silence, no cameras, no internet, no escape plan. And then, exactly at 3:17 a.m., she whispered into the darkness, "You can have me, but only if you take the story." The lights flickered, the air thickened. The same cold she'd felt in room 123 crept over her skin, and a voice, quiet and wide as eternity, replied, "Tell it." So she told everything. Out loud, the patients, the lies, the disappearances, the rituals, the ash, the screams, the way the hospital had erased names like chalk off a board, the way room 123 had rewritten space itself. And finally, I saw Jen. She wasn't just taken, she fought, and she gave me the only thing that mattered, the will to live. Silence followed, heavy, reverent silence. Then, as the sun began to rise, the motel lights came on. Her phone lit up. No missed calls, no strange messages, no whisper in her ear. Just a quiet notification from her cloud account. Upload complete. Room_123_final.wav. The audio she had just recorded. The story she had told that had saved weeks past. No nightmares, no shadows, no voices. Just a life returning to something like normal then. One cold January morning, Maya received a letter. Inside was a single photo. A hospital room. Clean, quiet. Empty, room 123. And this time, written on the back, full. She smiled. Not out of relief, not out of victory, but out of peace. Because for the first time, she realized something deeper than survival. You don't defeat darkness by denying it. You survive it by telling the truth, by making it visible, by refusing to carry its silence. Room 123 had never wanted her soul. It had wanted her silence, and she refused to give it. Epilogue 7 months later. The podcast episode aired under the title, "The Nurse Who Walked into Room 123." Millions listened. Thousands wrote in with stories of their own hospitals, schools, churches, homes with rooms that shouldn't exist, where something cold still lived. And just like that, Maya's truth became more than horror. It became a map for others trapped in silence. The end.